All right, Nick, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, just kind of sweeping up here a little bit.
Doing some house cleaning.
Do a little house cleaning, yeah. With Connor Joe, what was it that made him now ready for a call up like this?
Good spring training. Nick thought he played really well. He was one of our better performers in the spring. Came into camp ready to go, ready to show us that he could help us. And it was a tough decision at the end to send him back. But he was on our radar from day one as a guy that could potentially be a bench bat for us. Start some games at first, start some games in left. In a National League game, be a contributor. So it worked out that we needed to get. We felt an extra player on our bench now. We had 10 guys in the bullpen. We didn't need that after the off day yesterday. The bullpen's freshened up, and he's here to help us this weekend. And we'll see, how this goes moving forward. But he's on the 40-man roster. He has some options, so he's in the mix, which is great. It's great to have him. Good on the team. Great guy.
Yeah, and he in spring he really did play all over the place. Are you still comfortable with him in that kind of defensive role?
Yeah, I think he did a lot of hard work with Stu and Giddy out in the outfield with outfield play. We saw improvement in the 6 weeks, so we feel comfortable with Connor at first or in left.
And then with Antonio Senzatella, is he still on track? And I've kind of lost track when you might need.
Well, yeah, I haven't really told you, so you didn't really lose track. So
okay, good.
No need to apologize for losing track because we hadn't really given you a track. But he threw a bullpen today. I'll tell you that, and he threw fine. He feels good. He's nearing activation.
Okay, great. Thank you, buddy.
Patrick, go ahead.
Good afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Got a couple for you. And I don't expect you to comment on the suspension of Colton Welker, but I do have a question. How close do you think he was or is to being major league ready after another really good spring training? The second half of that, how much does the suspension hurt his progress?
Well, I do think he was getting closer. I thought from what we saw in summer camp last year, and he was a guy that, like so many players, Patrick, was affected by not playing last year, because I believe he was going to be in AAA last year with a number of guys from the AA team in 19 were going to get moved to AAA. And when a guy's signs out of high school and makes that progress, to get to AAA and you don't get there, it's a bummer, man. It's a setback for all those players, not only Colton, but other players and other organizations as well. So, I felt bad for all those guys across baseball. I felt bad for baseball, right? I mean, we didn't play last year and the minor leagues didn't play. But he came to summer camp. He was in the alternate camp, once we finished, and he kept getting better. I mean, those guys did a lot of great work. Very proud of our player development department, what they did in alternate camp last year. So he improved, and this year I thought he had a great offseason. Came into camp in great shape, a year older, a year wiser, a year of maturity. He was in a really good spot. He really was, and he played well, right? Him and Connor Joe, Crone, all the guys that are fighting to be a part of our club had good springs. So this is a bummer, but he was getting close. He was getting closer. I know that when you get to AAA and you have talent and you put it together during the season, you're close.
Cool. And one more housekeeping thing for me. We know that you brought along Kyle Freeland and Brendan Rodgers with you to St. Louis. Can you give us an update on when they might do their simulated game stuff?
Yes. They did it about 2 hours ago.
Oh, cool.
2:15 here at Busch Stadium. the grounds crew prepared the field for us to have some early work, and Kyle and Almonte both threw. Kyle threw about 3 simulated innings. Brendan Rodgers got like 5 at-bats, as did Connor Joe, Elias Diaz, Alan Trejo. They faced, Kyle and Yensi. That took place this afternoon. Both guys threw the ball well, and I thought our guys had good at-bats, so we got a lot accomplished this afternoon. And if Kyle and Brendan report tomorrow in good health, there's a really good chance that they'll be headed to Arizona to get into games, and then from there probably join the Albuquerque team at some point next week.
Buddy, I cover the Cardinals. My name is Derek. I cover the Cardinals for the Post-Dispatch here in St. Louis.
Derek, I've seen the byline over the years, and I've always appreciated and admired your writing, your work.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Thanks. I wanted to ask you what the last few months have been like for you. You trade the face of the franchise, you have a change in the front office, and here you are, the daily spokesman for the team, having to relate to the clubhouse, but also stress a message. I wondered what that was like for you.
Well, again, I think with this position as manager, a lot of things come across your desk or your plate over the years, and you become conditioned for a lot of these things just from experience. And even as a player, whether as a player you've been traded or hit free agency or go to arbitration or get sent to the minor leagues, all these things set you up for maybe some sort of leadership role if you go into that field. I learned a lot as a pitching coach in Anaheim with some great coaches and co-workers with Mike Scioscia, Joe Madden, Ron Renicky, Dino Ebel, down the line of guys that we learned a lot from each other, and then to manage. And one thing I've learned is that when things like this happen, you have to be as steady as possible and as sturdy as possible. And it's been a little rocky, right? Over the last couple of years for us, and like a lot of teams, it's not smooth sailing all the time for every single organization. Every organization has at one time or another something going on, and for us, this has been our time. But with that, I think the focus always has to be on the players, who are on your team, and the big picture, the organization. So what I try to do is just be as steady and as sturdy as possible with an outlook on things that is bright, and always looking to the future, and dealing with what's currently in front of us, through change. And that's what I've always tried to do since I've been in any sort of leadership position, even as a veteran player or a coach or a manager.
You've played against the Cardinals. You've been to St. Louis. You know what the expectations are like here, and Nolan better than any of us. Is he the kind of rise to the occasion player? We know the anecdotes of Father's Day, and I know a few years ago I was there for a walk-off home run that he hit against the Diamondbacks. Do you look forward to, maybe even on a personal note, seeing him rise to the occasion and how he does that?
Well, maybe not these 3 games, Derek.
Right. Yeah, understood.
But I think I've said this many times, and our guys can speak to this. I'm a fan. I mean, I watch games. I watch players. I was always, when I got to the major leagues, I had the great benefit of most of my career being a starting pitcher. So I was able to watch games 4 days and play 1. And I was able to watch a lot of great players and watch games unfold. And I've always admired talent. Talent is special, whether it's in our field, professional sports, or any sort of talent of intellect or skill or entertainment. Special player. And Nolan's a special player. And the thing about Nolan is he's and you'll come to know he's a great worker. He's passionate about baseball. he loves to play. And one thing I always loved about Nolan is his love for the game and actually playing. He was, the field was a place that he wanted to be. I think he always felt comfortable on a baseball field, whether it was on a backfield working or during a game. I knew that was his happiness. So I'm happy for him that, that he seems to be in a really good spot.
Hi, buddy. Just want to check with Antonio. Is the plan for him to still be able to make his next start?
He's getting closer, Danielle. He threw a side today. He felt good, and it looks like he's nearing activation.
Okay. And then with Justin Lawrence, I just want to ask, is there any pitcher you've seen before that you can compare him to that's able to throw at that arm angle with that velocity?
Well, there's a number of guys who've thrown from that. I'm trying to think of, some guys who threw that hard from that slot. I know a young Dennis Eckersley as a starter, threw from, that type of slot with the Indians, then with the Cubs, Red Sox. Maybe not quite as hot as Lawrence, but, good stuff. Frank Tanana from the left side had a lower slot, maybe not as low as Lawrence, but early Frank Tanana in the early 70s threw awful hard from a low 3/4 position. Don Drysdale probably didn't get that low, but, Don was in the mid 90s from, low 3/4 slot. There's been some other relievers who've thrown from that slot, maybe, didn't pass the test of time, but there's been guys, but the guys who had good careers, those guys come to mind a little bit with a low slot with great velocity. Thanks, everybody.
We'll keep looking.